what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When faculty are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When our students are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When the university is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Anyone who's not here, feel free to come over and join us. If you believe in academic freedom in the university, come and join us. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Hirsch.
Welcome everyone, my name is Jennifer Hirsch. I'm a professor in the School of Public Health. I stand before you as one of the many who learned, wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm just going to start again. Welcome everyone, my name is Jennifer Hirsch. I'm a professor in the School of Public Health. I stand before you as one of the many faculty from the Medical Center campus who learned in March that our grants had been capriciously and unfairly terminated. Can you hear me now?
Yes!
Okay. So, canceling my grant in particular, I think we all felt this way, was bonkers. At a time when all of our national indicators of sexual and reproductive health are getting worse and worse, why cancel one of the nation's premier training programs in gender, sexuality, and health? So yes, I'd like my grant reinstated. But I'm also here as a Jew, shaken and disgusted by the attack on higher education, to which I say, not in my name. Not in my name. Not in my name. Most importantly, I'm here with all of you as a member of the Columbia community. I'm terrified by the assault on higher education. And I'm afraid to be up here, not just because I think I might fall off the sundial, but I'm afraid to be up here speaking out, but when someone who has all the layers of privilege that I do, I'm white, I was born on third base, and now I'm 10 years full professor. When someone like me is afraid, that is exactly when we must come together to speak out, before we all permanently lose the right to do so. So when the Trump administration says to us, in their sort of mafia way, hey, nice research and teaching institution you got there, it would be a shame if something happened to it, and you can have your money back if you sign away your soul. The answer is not to cower in fear and to give in to their bullying, but rather to stand up and fight back. When higher education is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
When research and teaching are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
When our students are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
Am I getting some stage management? You can see we're not professional organizers here. This is not even my side hustle. There is a class for that. Okay. So we've come together today. Is that better? Less fuzzy? Okay. Sorry about that. We've come together today because the Columbia faculty and research community are no longer able to endure the silence of our leadership in the face of the open assault on our institution and our community. We call on the Board of Trustees to take the 6 following steps. Number 1, stand up for higher education. Repeat with me.
Stand up for higher education.
Specifically, propose and establish a mutual academic defense compact among all members of the American Association of Association of American Universities, rooted in the basic principles of defensive academic freedom, institutional integrity, and the research enterprise. That's number 1. Stand up for higher ed.
Stand up for higher ed.
Number 2, fight back against the federal attacks.
Fight back against the federal attacks.
We call on the board together to deploy every legal means to challenge the federal government's termination or threatened termination of grants to Columbia. No anticipatory obedience. Okay, you got it. No anticipatory obedience. We expect Columbia to aggressively defend our academic mission, including challenging federal actions taken against the university that violate free speech and academic freedom. That's number 2. Fight back against federal attacks.
Fight back against federal attacks.
Number 3, protect and defend students and international scholars.
Protect and defend students and international scholars.
You guys are getting good at this. We call on the board to initiate and join existing legal actions against the federal government's egregious rights violations, including visa cancellations and detention and attempted deportation by ICE. We call on the university to provide legal assistance to those affected, affirm the legal presumption of innocence, and condemn attacks on international students and scholars. Number 3, protect and defend international students and scholars.
Protect and defend international students and scholars.
Number 4, this is a little bit long, but I feel like we can do this. Preserve academic freedom, freedom of expression, and Columbia University's autonomy. Preserve academic freedom, freedom of expression, and Columbia University's autonomy. These principles are fundamental to the success of American research universities, and we call on the board to affirm that academic program reviews, personnel decisions about individual faculty, and student disciplinary cases will never be dictated by political pressures or threats to withhold funding. So number 4, preserve academic freedom of expression and Columbia University's autonomy. Preserve academic freedom, freedom of expression, and Columbia University's autonomy. Number 5, reestablish and affirm tenets of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You got it.
Reestablish and affirm tenets of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Columbia is made stronger by its diversity. It remains excellent because of its inclusivity, and it lives up to these values through inclusiveness. We call on the board to affirm that these will remain central, that we will not abandon these values in the face of political pressure. Number 5, reestablish and affirm tenets of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Reestablish and affirm tenets of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Number 6, protect our researchers and provide backup funding.
Protect our researchers and provide backup funding.
We call on the board and university leadership to commit to providing backup funding for all improperly terminated federal research funds that were awarded to Columbia investigators. I see many of you out there. If you had your funding terminated, raise your hand. It really sucks, doesn't it? Shame. We call on the board and university leadership to commit to providing backup funding for all improperly terminated federal research funds. I just said that. The research, faculty, clinical, and technical staff affected by these terminations are not to blame for their loss, and the board's strategy of negotiation and concessions, and we fear capitulation, has failed to protect us. We call on leadership to protect these research studies, training programs, and personnel until a more effective defense has been mounted and the original funds have not been recovered. So number 6, protect our researchers and provide backup funding.
Protect our researchers and provide backup funding.
Y'all are doing great. In sum, we are here to protect our university and to urge the university to stand up to the Trump administration's attacks, as we are a critical institution for sustaining democracy and advancing knowledge. Repeat after me. Hands off our university.
Hands off our university.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our teaching.
Hands off our teaching.
Hands off our students.
Hands off our students.
Hands off our patients.
Hands off our patients.
Okay, now we have like a little audience connection moment. So turn to someone next to you, maybe someone you don't know. Introduce yourself and share. How are you personally in this moment affected by the Trump administration's attacks? 30 seconds, 15 seconds each. Okay, good job, everyone. Now I'll have your attention again. That was a great moment of connection. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Mic check. Mic check. Good job. Okay, I'm delighted to me introduce our first speaker, Professor Joseph Stiglitz, a university professor, teaches at the Columbia Business School, the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, the Department of Economics. You didn't come here for me to give you a very long introduction, so I'm just going to hand him the microphone.
This is a very important moment because I think it's really important for us to stand up against the Trump administration. We've seen how the lawyers did not do that. That's an important part of our institutional structure that maintains democracy. And the university is a critical institution in our democracy. We have been given, many of us, tenure. What is the reason that we have tenure and academic freedom? Because for a democracy to work, there have to be critics of what the government does. And that's why anti-democratic governments always try to shut down the universities first. So that is exactly part of the game plan that they're engaged in. Now, those of us, especially those of us with tenure, tenure places, you might say, a role in our society because we have the capacity to speak up with minimal cost. There's some risk, and we all know, but at minimal cost. And with that, right comes, I think, enormous responsibility. So we, of all the people in our society, I think, have a responsibility to speak up against the anti-democratic actions which the Trump administration has been engaged in. We've created legal frameworks with safeguards. We thought those safeguards would work, and they would work with a normal government. But we are now in a situation where we've seen how the Trump administration has trampled those safeguards. And that makes it all the more important that we speak up. If no one speaks up, we know where this is going to go. It's going to go to trampling more and more of the safeguards, and we will become a less and less democratic institution. So, you know, as those of us who think of ourselves as the children of the post-Enlightenment world, this is a battle about the Enlightenment and whether we go back to a world before science, before democracy had its strong pillars of which these institutions, our universities, are an absolutely central institution. And if we don't fight back, I'm not sure anything will be able to save our democracy.
When education is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When medicine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When academic freedom is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Okay, this one's a little complicated. We're going to do hands-off. It's going to be hands-off students, research, teaching, patients. Okay? Ready? Hands-off students. Hands-off research. Hands-off teaching. Hands-off patients. One more. Hands-off students. Hands-off research. Hands-off teaching. Hands-off patients. All right, I'm going to be back to the MC here.
I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, Adina Bagard. Adina Bagard is an associate professor of nursing.
nursing in Columbia School of Nursing. I think we all know nursing care is about caring and advocating for not just individuals, but for whole communities. You know and trust us at the bedside in hospitals. We're in labor and delivery units, we're in ICUs, we're in emergency departments, working as a vital part of healthcare teams, ensuring you and your loved ones get quality care. But we're also taking care of your children in school nurse offices, your grandparents in urgent care centers, and we're providing primary and specialty care across the nation as advanced practice providers and nurse practitioners. But you mostly know that. What you may not know is we also teach, and we're also scientists. And at Columbia School of Nursing, we're teaching our students not only to lead in clinical care, but also in health education and in science and scholarship. In fact, our school is a powerhouse of innovation and training. Last year, our school ranked first, yet again, as the nursing school to receive the most NIH federal funding to do things like improve asthma control in heavily affected areas of the city, to improve social connectedness and health among vulnerable populations, to improve cardiovascular health, and improve nursing home care. I'm not even done with the list. My goodness. Yes, of course, I could go on and on. But in March, our school arbitrarily lost research grant funding from grant proposals that had been rigorously evaluated, funding that was used in the long-standing tradition of the university-government partnership to improve public health, to do things like prevent HIV transmission in vulnerable populations, to develop mental health support in low-resource settings, to develop interventions to reduce preterm birth, and to harness the volumes of data documented by nurses in electronic health records that ultimately produced an early warning system that actually saved lives and certainly reduced hospital stays. These cuts will inevitably impact education and training of clinical nurses and nurse practitioners, and this at a time when the nation is facing a well-documented growing staffing shortage. I got it. You know what I'm talking about. Such cuts are both short-sighted and dangerous. The funding reductions, combined with the current climate at Columbia, could hinder efforts to recruit and retain nursing faculty, potentially limiting the capacity of our nursing program to train the next generation of nurses. Louder, okay. As an educator, what part particularly concerns me is the pattern of government overreach being tolerated by the powers that be at Columbia. This is overreach that's being checked at other institutions. These federal stipulations for admissions and academic policies, these are the kinds of actions that can threaten preparing the next generation of nurses to meet the complex health needs of patients across the country. And this overreach, it's not just a matter of bureaucracy, it's a warning sign. Authoritarian regimes have always sought to discredit science and silent independent thought by tightening control over education. If it can... Shame. If it continues, we risk turning this university from a place of discovery into a tool of political ideology and enforcement. And we, the people, are here today to say, hands off. Hands off. Protect our research. Protect our teaching. Protect our students. Protect our patients. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Adina. This thing is very complicated. Our next speaker is Ezra Susser, who's a professor of epidemiology and psychiatry at the Mailman School of Public Health at Columbia University. Ezra, take it away.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. So, this rally is correctly focused on the assault of Columbia as a forerunner to the assault of all universities and all higher education. But my talk is going to be a little different because I want to emphasize the harm that this is doing to everybody. To us, yes. To all the things that have been said. But the harm that it's doing to everybody in the United States and across the world. And I'll just take one example. Do your families, do your loved ones, do you want them to suffer from infectious diseases of the past? Like whooping cough, diphtheria, polio, and you could go on and on. These are all things that you're protected from by vaccination. When people with autism and their families suspected that vaccines may be a cause of autism, we took them seriously because often people affected and their families have insights that we don't see as scientists. I spent a decade alongside people with these views, affected people, researching this question. And after about 10 years, the result was crystal clear. Vaccinations do not cause autism. And that almost everybody has autism, and has a relative with autism, now believes that. So what are we doing? We now have RFK Jr. as the head of Health and Human Services.
Shame.
They oversee NIH and other sources of federal funding. So what are they doing? They're undermining the use of vaccines for these diseases. RFK Jr. is spreading the lie that vaccines cause autism. And you can see this clearly in the measles outbreak in the Southwest, where already children have died, others become disabled, and he has not promoted vaccines as a solution. He proposes remedies that are known to be ineffective. That'll be the same with other things. So, what does that do to you? To everyone? It's going back to those times, those glorious times when we had diphtheria, when we had whooping cough, when we had polio, as even Mitch McConnell understands. This research, a lot of it was centered at Columbia, and not only at Columbia. So, what reason could there be to want to do this harm to everybody in the United States? I can't think of one. So they have to invent reasons, but they're not even very good at that. So, what can we do? I think it's the responsibility of every citizen, everybody, to stand up and say no to this. No. Say no. No. We will not allow this. Everybody has to say it for them to hear it. And I want to, I'm going to go off script for a moment and end there, because I see a sign there. No appeasement. I'm German. I know where this leads. That's one of the signs there. Well, I was born in South Africa, and my parents stood up against apartheid. My family were exiled because of that. And they spent the major part of their lives doing this. Finally, apartheid ended. Then they, and including me, spent 40 years building up the infrastructure in South Africa to prevent infectious diseases, HIV, TB, and the other ones that I've already mentioned. That's all being cut. We know where this leads. Trump only offer asylum, only to one group, and those are white Afrikaners. If you can imagine that. Only white Afrikaners have asylum in the United States? No!
No.
We all have to stand up. Every citizen has to stand up.
We're not going to let a little NYPD helicopter noise shut us down, right? Okay, so our next speaker at KW, we're looking for you. You're the one after the speaker. So our next speaker is Jordan from the Student Workers Coalition. Oh, KW. Okay, KW, you're up.
Okay, hi everybody. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Okay, good. I'm going to try my best to yell. I'm good at that. Okay, so I just want to say I'm incredibly honored to be here today alongside all these incredible doctors and faculty and nurses, everybody that's here. My name is Kelsey. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a nurse, but I'm also a double lung transplant patient. I'm from the Midwest and traveled here for a double lung transplant March of 2023. There's a reason for that. So I was turned down by several other centers for my transplant due to my complex case. But I came here because Columbia has one of the oldest lung transplant programs in the country, which equates to more experience. In addition to the notoriety of the program, the research here built the foundation for the fantastic care I've received from the numerous doctors, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, nurses, and support staff top to bottom. It was insanely scary moving to a city I'd never been and knowing it was for a do or die kind of thing. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I had to put my trust in people I'd never met and experience that I hadn't witnessed firsthand yet. To say the least, I was insanely pleased. In hindsight, I can't imagine having ended up anywhere else for such life-changing medical care. The research that's been done for lung transplant patients and still is being done has helped develop the status of the program and attracted the wonderful staff that work there. The same could be said for all of the medical center. It's what allowed for my medical success and for the patients that have come both before and after me. For instance, past research here about ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, for those of you who don't know, allowed for better mortality success rates for pre and post lung transplant patients. The medical center was one of the first centers in the country to actually adopt it. Research has been done here about expanding the donor pool for lung transplant patients, increasing the number of transplants performed, and decreasing wait time. A new allocation score system for listed lung transplant patients was developed in part by research. This helps sicker patients like myself get transplanted faster. Research on acid reflux identified it as a risk factor for rejection. This led to changes in protocols, routine monitoring, and sooner treatment of it, preventing devastating complications. Currently, there are studies ongoing here about using blood samples to more accurately assess for rejection in lung transplant patients. Also, there are studies ongoing aiming to better understand donor and host antibodies and how they affect rejection and mortality outcomes, and also how to improve treatment of rejection because of them. I'm sure there's a lot I'm missing and that I botched some of the descriptions, but these innovations and implementations at the clinical level were all fueled by research funding here at the medical center. These advancements are what helped me get my lungs in a timely manner, facilitate a smooth operation and recovery, and not to mention, keep my ongoing care I'll have for the rest of my life at its best. I want every patient who comes here, whether it's for solid organ transplant or routine procedures, drug trials, and so on, to have access to the same unique care that's founded on research happening at the medical center. Everyone deserves that. And people who have dedicated their lives to this research and common goal of improving health and treatment for New Yorkers deserve the same. How does this medical center become better and treat more patients like me if there's no money for research? It's not possible. As a patient whose life was saved by the medical center and the wonderful staff working tirelessly to provide outstanding patient care, I'm asking that Columbia University defend the medical center's researchers and clinicians by providing backup research funding, preserving academic freedom, freedom of expression, and Columbia University's autonomy to govern these, and lastly, that Columbia University and the medical center both stand up to the Trump administration for patients, students, research, and training alike. Thank you.
While we've been standing here, we've just had the news that another student activist from our community has been detained by immigration authorities. A student who stood here last year and spoke out against war and for peace and justice has been detained by the immigration authorities. When Columbia students are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
When medical research is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
When freedom of speech is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
Our next speaker is Andrew Little, the president of UAW 4100.
Thank you. I'm president of UAW 4100, the Union for Postdocs and Associate Research Scientists here at Columbia and at Mount Sinai. This is an assault on all of us, and I think by now we all see how these issues of academic freedom and medical research funding are connected. Every grant that's cut and every student that's detained arbitrarily is an attack on all of us. Every grant that could be funding essential research that benefits the public. Postdocs and associate research scientists make up the backbone of research here at Columbia. Despite that, even before now, postdocs have seen decades of deteriorating working conditions. Postdocs here are also 70% international workers, making employment even more precarious and creating additional vulnerability to bullying, harassment, and fears about what's currently happening on campus. That's why we unionize as postdocs at Columbia and why thousands are unionizing in New York City and across the country. As a union of postdocs, we already know that in order for Columbia to stand up for us, to give us what we deserve in a fair contract, it takes the majority of us to stand up and to bring them to the bargaining table to negotiate with us as equals. In this moment, we also, as academics here at Columbia and across the country, need to demand that our institutions come to us, hear us. The fight is even bigger than just with our institutions. This is a struggle with the US government. It's an attack on academic freedom and academia as a whole. We've already been building a mass movement of researchers across the country, and there's an upswell among the public to fight back. We need to build our coalition. We need to join together as faculty, as postdocs, as students, as support staff, as patient groups who are affected by the cuts to this research. And we need to demand that Columbia stand with us, and we need to stand against these attacks coming from the Trump administration. The fight doesn't end here. There's a rally every week, and we can't stop now. We have to continue building this. It's going to take a lot more to win this fight. Thank you.
Just want to say another word about the student who was detained. A Columbia University student in general studies, Mohsen Madawi, was attending a meeting for his naturalization process when he was taken away in handcuffs by Homeland Security personnel.
Shame.
Mohsen has a green card. He is a lawful permanent resident. How many people here know a lawful permanent resident? How many people know someone who's here on a visa? Is this a university that's only for citizens of this country?
No!
Are we an international community?
Yes!
Do we work for Donald Trump and his Homeland Security goons?
No!
When Columbia students are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When freedom of speech is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Gene Howard. Needs no introduction.
Thank you very much. I am very proud to be standing here with my Uptown colleagues today. There is no Columbia University in the city of New York without its students, faculty, and researchers, uptown and downtown alike. We are the heart and soul of one great institution, bound together by the belief that academic inquiry must be free from political interference and intimidation, that actual expertise is essential to advances in knowledge, that the well-being of students is a sacred trust, and that democratic principles should govern our institutional polity. These are the principles that have made Columbia great. All of them are now threatened. First, by a federal administration functioning by intimidation and a reckless disregard for the law, and now by Columbia's own leadership. The times require steadfast leadership and a stringent commitment to principle. Yet over the last 2 years, many of Columbia's leaders have betrayed our values and contravened our traditions. Three times, the Board of Trustees has failed to conduct a process resulting in the appointment of a president able by vision and strength of character, effectively to lead Columbia through the current crisis. This is a monumental failure with disastrous consequences as shared government slips slowly toward governance by fiat and weak and irregular forms of faculty consultation, but without meaningful faculty consent to major policy decisions. The AUP, which has a long history on this campus and in the nation, and whose spokesperson I am today, is aghast at what we have already lost or are on the brink of losing. Not only academic freedom and the right to political speech and nonviolent protest, but also the faculty's role in governing this institution, our prerogative to determine academic policy, review departments, and set the terms of student discipline. When our leaders bargain away these rights, they reveal that they do not understand the actual legacy they have been entrusted to preserve. Our Uptown colleagues today call on all of us to resist what is happening in every way we can, and to reiterate again and again that what is happening is not right. We should fight in the courts to restore science funding, as the AAUP is doing. We should fight in the courts to defend the constitutional rights of our students and faculty, as the Knight Institution is doing. And we should join with other universities to protect the values which has made American higher education the envy of the world. No one should underestimate the immense power of a federal bureaucracy bent on wanton destruction. Nor should one think the task of navigating this crisis is easy. But the existential threat to the university is so stark that we simply cannot turn aside from this fight. For when we fight, we just might win. When we fight, we just might win.
We will win.
Let's try that one more time. When we fight,
We win.
let's go with when we fight, we win. Let's put it in the future tense. Indicative mood only. When we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
We've got one more speaker, but I realized I didn't say something important when I told you a moment ago that our student Mohsen had been detained. The thing I didn't tell you is that Mohsen is Palestinian. And I don't want to step down from here without saying that word, because for the last year, it's kind of seemed like that's supposed to be a dirty word. And I can't help but think that if our university leadership had had the fiber and courage a year ago to stand up for the fact that you're allowed to talk about Palestine on American University campus, then maybe today they would have the fiber and the courage to stand up for every single thing we do here. When Columbia students are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When medical research is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When freedom of speech is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When our university is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
They give you now Professor Joseph Slaughter from the Department of English and Comparative Literature.
Thank you. I stand in solidarity with my uptown colleagues from the medical sciences and the WIN, in belief that the university is indispensable to the health of democracy. It seems we may have a board of trustees who are ready to submit a great university to the unlawful demands of an authoritarian government. I want to discuss for a moment the fiduciary duties of trustees and to insist that we, as primary stakeholders in this university, hold them responsible in fulfilling or failing their fiduciary obligations. Fiduciary duties are legal responsibilities to act in the best interests of an institution and its stakeholders. Too often, these are imagined only as a responsibility for fiscal health, but the fiduciary duties for trustees are greater than $400 or $700 million of illegally withheld grants. Trustees should weigh the ultimate costs of not standing up for students and faculty, of not denouncing unwarranted attacks, arrests, and deportations of international students, of not challenging false narratives, of not safeguarding academic freedom, of not mounting a vigorous defense of democracy and the rule of law. The costs of those failures will also be financial. They will also be existential. The fiduciary responsibilities of trustees include duties of care, loyalty, and obedience. The duty of obedience demands a form of trustee subservience, not to external forces or government pressure or extortionist threats. It demands subservience to the mission of the university. I checked this morning just to be sure we still have a mission statement. As of this morning, Columbia continues to declare that it seeks to attract a diverse international faculty, staff, and student body to support research and teaching on global issues, to advance knowledge and learning at the highest level, and to convey the products of its efforts to the world. That's a mission worthy of defense by our trustees. These three fiduciary duties entail, among other things, safeguarding both the autonomy of the institution and the related tradition of academic freedom. These aren't radical principles of utopian thinking, or leftist principles, or non-viewpoint diversity principles. These are time-honored democratic and legal principles that recognize the university's unique value to society. The American trustee system was established in the early years of the United States precisely to give independent citizen oversight to institutions of higher learning, and thereby to insulate universities and colleges from governmental interference, or the interference of religion or the church. These principles are upheld today by the Association of Governing Boards of Universities, the AGB, the professional organization for trustees founded more than 100 years ago to foster independent university governance. I conclude by reading from the AGB's trustee handbook, because somebody must. As part of its fiduciary duties, the board is the ultimate guarantor of academic freedom and institutional autonomy in all educational matters and should jealously guard that prerogative. The handbook contemplates a dilemma that parallels the one faced by us today. It concludes, however, with great moral force, that as guardians of such ultimate and non-negotiable values as academic freedom, trustees should resist, that's the AGB's word, trustees should resist bartering non-economic interests, including academic freedom and due process, for short-term monetary benefits. Certain paramount values simply cannot be sacrificed. Thus, if the board sells the soul of the university for short-term advantage, then the trustees have failed to fulfill their fiduciary duties, not by my idealistic standards or by yours, but by legal standards affirmed for more than a century by a jury of our trustees' peers. In other words, the 6 appeals we make to the Board of Trustees today are no more and no less than demands that the trustees do their fiduciary duty, to stand up and fight back to protect the vital interests and future of the university.
We were supposed to be on low steps, but they wouldn't let us stand there because the undergrads are taking graduation pictures. So listen to me. When I say trustees, repeat after me. Trustees.
Trustees.
Are you listening?
Are you listening?
Trustees.
Trustees.
Are you listening?
Are you listening?
Trustees.
Trustees.
Are you listening?
Are you listening?
Well done. Okay, this is not the last time that we're going to gather, and so hopefully. And so there are people circulating with QR codes. If you're not on our list, you can be on our list of rabble-rousers. You can be on our list secretly if you don't want anyone to know. Just a few of us will know, or you can be on our list signing up. So if you haven't scanned the QR code, scan now. I know this has been awesome, so awesome. We're going to do it again, the whole thing. The press is still mostly not allowed on campus, and so we're all invited to go outside where every major news outlet in New York is waiting to hear us do this again. So please, everybody, walk with us.
On Thursday, there is a day of action called for by the Columbia Student Union. It is in coordination with the National Day of Action to Protect Higher Ed. Please come out. It will be here in the Sundial. This is alongside the union struggle from the student workers of Columbia who have been fighting for a fair contract, something we all deserve. Whether you are a student, an undergrad, a postdoc, it doesn't matter. We are all connected.
Thursday is the day of action for academic labor. There's a guy with flyers.
What time?
Here at the Sundial.
12 o'clock.
One last chance before we part.
12.
Pick up what Jennifer said. This is something I heard the students say the other day. Couple weeks ago, some Jewish students chained themselves to the gate to protest the detention of Columbia students. And as their chains were being cut and they were being carried away, here's what I heard them chant. We'll be back.
We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to talk to the press outside the Amsterdam gates now.